In this instructional video, you're going to watch this student go from this type of uncollected trot and this kind of uncollected lope to this type of collected lope and this type of collected trot. If you have any questions, just give me a call.
Now, folks, what we did, and we changed a little bit, because if you noticed on the first time he was riding, his stirrups were too short. That's the reason you saw him bouncing in the saddle. So we have lowered the stirrups down 1 notch. And then I put my breast collar on him instead of his. His is fine. The only problem was he didn't have the bottom part to keep the breast collar where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be right there. So I've used this one in its place. And then I've taken the little martingale, okay, and this little martingale goes 4 inches above the slant of the shoulder. Here's the slant of the shoulder. Here's 4 inches above the slant of the shoulder. You see that? Here's the slant of the shoulder. Here's 4 inches above it. That's how you want to adjust your breast collar. Here is more important, not here. And just bring it up like that. Now, folks, I said about what collection is. It's transferring the weight from the front to the back. But here's where the rub comes in. How do you get that done? It takes months and it takes years. Back in late 50s, 1950s is when I started working with horses, and what I did was read everything I could on collection. And there's the old traditional method of collection. And I tried to invent a way that I could collect, because I noticed that when I turn my horse loose by himself with no saddle or anything, he collects himself. And so I thought, all I have to do is find a way to show him what I want him to do and let him do it. And it'll be a lot faster. So let me go over a couple of things. This is a Mexican bit. This is a bit that is used in Mexican rodeos. And what I want to show you here is a couple of things. First thing is, this bit here should engage right here. That's where it should engage. See that? Straight down, right here, it should engage, but it's not engaging. It's not engaging until I pick it way up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, unhook it here, and take it up 1 notch. Now, let's see where it engages. See? It engages right where it's supposed to. So this was a little too loose. Also, this horse still has his wolf teeth, and you may see him jumping up, opening his mouth and stuff, because the bit is hitting the wolf teeth. But what we're going to do is we're going to put a cavesson on him. On all horses, I recommend doing this. The cavesson does nothing more than keeps his mouth on the bit. That's all. What's his name? Now, if you notice, the cavesson goes right below this bone. See this bone right here? That's a very sensitive bone. You want the cavesson to be right below it. And let me just adjust it here nice and loose. Just like that. You see how loose that is? That's just real loose. Let me bring it over in the light a little bit. See how that is? That's loose. But that means that he can't open his mouth. Now, when he starts to open his mouth, he'll probably go back because he finds out he can't. So the cavesson keeps him on the bit. There's 2 ways of riding a horse, basically. The way that you just saw him riding, where he turns the reins loose and the horse goes on front of the bit. What we're going to do by collecting him is we're going to make him run behind the bit, but we're not going to be making him pull. We're not going to be pulling on the bit. We're just going to have to set his head in one position for right now until he gets his rear end underneath him, which will make it a lot smoother for him and for you. And at the same time, uh, uh, he will do this if you ride him year after year after year. He'll learn to collect himself because he knows that his power's in his back. So right now I'm going to try to put this over. He might object a little bit because he's not used to having the cavesson. And so we're just going to go nice and easy with him. Some horses react, some don't. Let's loosen it a little more. Now, what is happening right here, he's going to get the feel. I'm going to get out of the arena in a minute, and he's going to get the feel for that bit. Now, if you noticed, those reins are slack, but you notice the bow on the head because he's yielding to the bit. So you notice where the reins are at behind the saddle horn. That's where you want the reins to be. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen him up a little more because I think that's a little too far. Now, he has his head down this far because he hasn't picked it up. When he picks his head up in a minute, see, his head will be straight. Now, when he picks his head up, he's actually not hurting himself at all because the rubber reins are letting him pick his head up. But all of these horses, they're going to try to be as comfortable as they can. And right now, that's what he's doing. If you can hand me the lunge whip and let me just move him a little bit. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to hit you. There you go. Now, when he picks his head up, right now he's got his head too far down, and that's because he doesn't want to pull on the rubber reins. What he wants to do is he wants total slack. If I walk over here right now and show you right here, see, there's no pull at all.
Five, two.
Okay, now I'm going to pick up this lunging whip and I'm going to move the horse a little bit. These reins are made specially for me. I had designed them. They're 7 pounds per square inch. So they're enough tension to make him uncomfortable if he picks up his head, but not enough tension to ever hurt him. Now, he's very, very smooth. His head's down. He's got slack in the reins. You see him moving. Now we're going to try to get him into a little trot to see if he'll continue doing the same thing. Now you see the reins, how you see the martingale, how loose it is. There is no strain on him whatsoever. So he is very comfortable now in a trot. Look how smooth that is. Very, very smooth. Once he's collected like this, he'll stay collected as long as he has the reins on him and you can use him. He doesn't necessarily have to have his head in a vertical position. We're just starting him off this way to force him to put his rear underneath him, which is what he would do if he were by himself. But you can see how smooth that trot is. He's doing very, very well. Some horses can do it like he did. Some may take an hour, but I don't think I've ever had any that took over an hour. And I've never run into a horse yet that didn't adapt to this. We're going to try to lope him, speed him up a little bit here, and lope him, and then put the rider on him and do the same thing. But I just wanted you folks to see what it looks like and how comfortable he is. Because remember, the horse is not going to put himself in an uncomfortable position. That's why he must do this before the rider gets on him, so that he can understand that it's between him and the reins, and so he's going to adapt. But if somebody's on him, he's going to try to fight you.
Now, folks, another thing I'd like to emphasize is whenever you turn your horse, make sure he turns into the fence. If you watch his back legs, you'll see why. So he can put all of his weight on his back end. So if I want to turn him the other way, I get over here. See his back legs, how it turned, and his front feet came up. That means that he's collected. It only takes this one lesson. After this, you do the same thing. Now I'm going to put a rider on him in a little bit. Okay, now let's lope him in this direction, see how he does. Now look how easy that lope is. Now watch his head. See how his head went back to normal? Look at the slack in his reins. So he was actually loping, but he was actually given to the bit. And this is what you call pushing a horse into the bit. And I can't stress this enough. He does not have to have his head in this position. But if you want to start him collecting, this is where you start. They're holding his head so that this can reach further and make it go faster, like a rabbit or like a kangaroo. You see how he reached further, and but this is to guide with. This horse is already collected. It's been 15 minutes and he's already collected. But that doesn't mean that he's going to but you're going to have to use these reins all the time. Now, this particular rein we're going to change this after you've ridden him 10, 20 times. The reason I want you to ride him with this is because in the event that he panics or he pulls, this will do it for you. You don't have to worry about it. It'll bring him back down. But then after he gets used to it, and this horse is going to do it very quickly, then you change this rein to a leather rein with rollers here and make it more easier. Okay, what we're going to do now is here's the second rein we're going to be using. We're going to throw it over his shoulder. This one doesn't hook on anything, okay? We'll put this one here. Remember how I showed you. Now these are the rollers that you're going to replace after 10 or 20 times you ride him with the rubber reins. You're going to take the rubber reins off, but don't get rid of them, because with these same reins you can do this to many, many horses. So these are the rollers, and you're going to take the Chicago screw off, take the ring off, and put this in its place. But before you do that, put the rein through here, and remember the rough part goes on the roller, and then you can clip it, and you get this effect, which gives you more of a power steering effect. But right now we're going to just leave it like this till he gets used to it. And we're going to hook. In this case, normally your Western and English bits have a ring here, but in this case this is a Mexican bit, and they use it a little differently. So we're going to hook here, but these are going to be hooked on the same ring. This is going to be the top rein, and this is going to be the bottom rein. Reach over to the other side and do the same thing. But for those of you that do use this type of bit, you can do it like that. Now let's see how much slack we're going to have to take out. Okay, now if you noticed right up here, see how much longer that is? So we're going to adjust him. Take this little Conway buckle. A little more. Now on this top rein, you can cut off the excess if you want to. There it is. A little bit less. There, they're both the same size. Okay, go. Okay, now we've got the rider on, and we got this stirrup a little longer. Now, if you will, then you'll stand up in the saddle, and you put your hand. He can put his hand under there. That's about the right length right there. And now he's going to hold his hands in the position that the horse got used to. Now, if you pull it further back, well, then you're going to fight the horse. You don't want to fight him. This way, I'm going to tell him to put his palm of his hand right on top. And now he is working against the bit. Even though he's against the bit, you notice that there's no tension here on either rein. So the way you're going to get him to go is when you're going to get him to walk, you push your feet forward and you tap him with a little quirt. Once you tap him with that quirt, he begins to associate. Remember, horses associate and anticipate. That's the two things they give you. So he's going to associate the squeezing of the legs with moving, and you won't have to tap him. The first few times you may have to. Some horses you do, some you don't. So the first thing we want Lenya to do is to go ahead and put your hand up there, because we're going to drive the horse to the bit and make him go forward. Now, he didn't have to tap him. The horse did it fine. Lenya's been riding a long time, but for those of you that have not, all you have to use is a little. Now, keeping his hand in the same place, squeeze your legs again and tap him. There it is. Now, he hates that little tap. That tap does not hurt him, but it helps. He hates it. And that's the reason why. Now, as he's trotting there, you notice he's not jumping in the saddle like he was doing earlier. There's no jumping at all. In fact, his stirrup could be one down a little bit lower, because he's sitting on the back of the saddle. He needs to be further up, so you can lower him one more time. It would be even better. But he's got used to this, so let's stay there. Okay, now to get him to lope, in this, remember he's going against the bit, but you notice that the reins are slack. There's no tension there. Now put this leg forward and punch him with the other leg and make him lope. Go ahead. There you go. Now you see his back legs where they're up underneath him? But his head is in the same position. Now, when we're going to go to stop him, what we're going to do is this leg here is up forward. We're going to throw the other leg up forward, count 1,001, and then we're not going to pull him, we're just going to tighten, take the slack out of the reins. So do it now. Throw the other leg, whoa, there it is. You see the horse stopped by himself. You didn't have to pull him, right, Lencho?
Just slack the reins.
Yeah, just slack the reins, and you push your foot forward, count 1,001, and pull the reins. The slack that's in the reins, just take that out. Don't pull on it. Just take that out. After a while, when you throw the leg forward, he already knows. And he stops, so try it again. There's his walk. There's his trot. Now try the lope. See how much faster he picked up the lope that time? How's that feel?
Okay, we're going to put him in another lope. He's in his right lead. He's running very, very smoothly. We're going to try a second stop. You notice how comfortable the horse is? He's not fighting the rider at all. Here's the stop. So that the camera can really see it good, we're going to stop him. And all we're going to do is throw our feet forward. And there he stops all by himself. Look at the reins, how slack they are. You see there's no pulling at all. And now he turns his into the fence, and we're going back the other way. Look at the trot. You notice he's not bouncing anymore? There's no more bounce because the horse is in balance. Now, when you turn him loose by himself, he'll do this by himself, but not with a rider. Now we got him doing it with a rider. Watch his hands where he's at. His hands are exactly where the horse was trained to hold his head and to have slack in the reins. Do not pull past that point, because if you do, then you'll be fighting him. Right now he thinks that it's still hooked to the horn, and so once you ride him like this for a while, good stop. Very good. That's it, folks.